All right, my dears, I'm going to include the link for this web page in the description box of this video because this is accurate and so many of the others are not. So this is actually, uh-oh, I guess I'll just make it bigger again. Okay, you can't see all of it all at once, but you can see the majority of it. Numbers 33. This is going to be the last video in our Numbers series, and this starts with a recounting of the journey that they have taken from Egypt, the Exodus in Egypt on Passover of the 14th day of the first month, circa 1440 something BC, through the wilderness and across the crossing, which is the, what does it call it? The Nuweiba Beach crossing with Sinai at Jabal el-Lawz in Sinai. In the Arabian Peninsula. Not the Sinai Peninsula, but in Arabia, which is where the Bible places it, the New Testament. Sinai in Arabia. In Galatians, it actually talks about that. So, this is a great map, and I will, like I said, include the link to this website. And I don't even know what the rest of the website says. I just saw the map and I liked it. So I don't know what the rest of it says. But this is an accurate map. So let us start with Numbers 33, and we're going to recount their journey from Egypt all through this area. These are the journeys of the children of Israel, which went forth out of the land of Egypt with their armies under the hand of Moses and Aaron. And Moses wrote their goings out according to their journeys by the commandment of the Lord. These are their journeys according to their goings out. They departed from Ramses in the first month, on the 15th day of the first month, on the morrow after the Passover. The children of Israel went out with an high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. So they were living in Goshen, and Ramses is not the Pharaoh at the time of the Exodus, as some people suggest. Ramses is the city, is a city, not a pharaoh. Anyway, Ramses Succoth. They pitched in Succoth, which is right here. They departed from Succoth and pitched in Etham, which is on the edge of the wilderness. So that would be over here. They removed from Etham and turned again unto Pi-hahiroth, which is down here, and passed through the midst of the sea into the wilderness, and went 3 days' journey in the wilderness of Etham and pitched in Marah. So here is where they would have crossed the Red Sea in the Gulf of Aqaba. And here on the map is Marah. They removed from Marah and came to Elim. And in Elim were 12 fountains of water and 70 palm trees, and they pitched there. So here's Elim. I think they were complaining at that time about something, the waters being bitter or something like that. They removed from Elim and encamped by the Red Sea. And they removed from the Red Sea and encamped in the wilderness of Sin. So that would be down here. And they took their journey out of the wilderness of Sin and encamped in Dophkah? That is not on here. And they departed from Dophkah and encamped in Alush. And they removed from Alush and encamped in Rephidim, which is down here. So we're just showing, or I guess we're seeing where they would have made the loop down here. And Rephidim, where was no water for the people to drink. And they departed from Rephidim and pitched in the wilderness of Sinai. So now we're down here in Arabia. They removed from the desert of Sinai and pitched at Kibroth Hattaavah, some name that I definitely cannot pronounce. It's multiple syllables. So sorry. The first time I came across this, I did not even try, and I should have just not tried that time either. They departed from that place and encamped in Hazeroth. Let me see if I can find a map that has some of this other stuff on it. This map has those cities down here, which were Alush, Rephidim. Does it have Hazeroth? Okay, so we are just going to go back to this map. I am so significantly disappointed that there are no maps besides this and maybe one other one that I was able to locate that have Mount Sinai in Arabia. I cannot believe that. It is highly unfortunate. This is why it's like when we're talking about dates of Solomon's reign and the Exodus and all that stuff, like just because it's a popular date does not mean it's accurate. Just because 98% of the maps have Mount Sinai in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt does not mean they're right. They're not. And so this is the hardship of doing all of this, is like people put this information out that is just not accurate and it does not align with the Bible. So that's why I've kind of given up and I've deleted all of the comments that are talking about like specific rapture dates at this point, because, or even years at this point, because it's like, we're just going to have to wait and see. If it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And we'll reevaluate at such a time if it becomes necessary. But simply because there are sources out there that have common information or information that's commonly understood a certain way, does in no way, shape, or form mean that it is accurate. And I would challenge you guys to go look at the maps if you have not already, and you will see precisely what I'm talking about. It is ridiculous. So I apologize, but I cannot find another map that I actually want to show because they're not right. So this is going to be the closest I've got. So I'm going to be going through some names of some places where they're not going to be on this map. But like I said, this is going to be the closest that I can get to the actual points of crossing over the Red Sea and Mount Sinai itself. So if there's some other little cities on here where it mentions that they camped and they're not on the map, or in the Bible, they're mentioned, but they're not on the map, I apologize for that. But I'm not going to find a different map that might have those places and have them labeled incorrectly. So the absence of information in this situation is better than wrong information. So they departed from Sinai and pitched at the name of that place where I can't. And I'm not taking this part out and editing it out and just like going back and I want to voice my frustration with this because I want you guys to do this on your own and to see how these resources are. Like, I could not include that in this, but I feel like you would be losing some of the frustration that should be present with this process when all of the information you're trying to seek just to get an answer is not right. And it's makes the process significantly more difficult. So I would like for you guys to go search it yourself and to see the frustration, because it's like, all I want is a map. All I legitimately want is a map. And there are lots of them and they're all wrong. So anyway, Hazeroth is not on here and Ramon Perez is not on here. Then they went to Libnah, and from Libnah they pitched in Rissa, and they journeyed from Rissa to another spot, and then they pitched in Mount Shafir, and then they encamped in Heradah, and they moved from there to Makaloth, and they removed from Makaloth and encamped in Tahath, and Terah, and Mithka, and Hashmona. And then they encamped in Moseroth, and then another spot that starts with a B, which is a 4-syllable word, and is like Bene Jaakan or something like that. So it might be that these places are just not on any maps. And they're just telling us specifically how the Lord moved them around in the wilderness over the course of 40 years. That's probably more what we're doing here, is just seeing how much they moved around during the course of those 40 years. And I'm skipping some verses here. I'm in Numbers 33. I'm going through verses 32, 33, 34, 35, and I just cannot pronounce these words. So I apologize. Ultimately, they pitched in the wilderness of Zin, which is Kadesh. So we're up here. And now we're moving into more familiar territory. So I apologize that I cannot pronounce these words, but the verses are here for you to read through if you would like. Then they removed from Kadesh and pitched in Mount Hor in the edge of the land of Edom. And unfortunately, that is not on here. And King Arad the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south of the land of Canaan, heard the coming of the children of Israel, and they departed from Mount Hor and pitched in Zalmonah. Is that on here? No, unfortunately, it's not. So here is another map. The Sinai part of it is not right, but it's got Mount Hor on here, where that would have been, and by the King's Highway, because they're coming up on Edom. So it was the Canaanites first, and then it was Edom, where they were just trying to go through the King's Highway, and they were disallowed from doing so. So here we are over here. And they departed from Mount Hor and pitched in Zalmonah. Is that on here? Of course it's not. Then they departed from there and pitched in a few other spots, and verse 44 says in the border of Moab. So we are here. They departed from Idim and pitched in another spot that starts with a D. Yep, it is literally just talking about all of the places that they went over the course of their 40 years, and then it mentions Nebo. And they departed from the mountains of Abarim and pitched in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho. So we are back up here. They pitched by Jordan, even unto Abel Shittim in the plains of Moab. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye are passed over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then ye shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their pictures, and destroy all their molten images, and quite pluck down all their high places. Ye shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land, and dwell therein, for I have given you the land to possess it. This is the Lord's land. And this is the Lord's people. So they are being given the authority to dispossess the people in the land, because the people living in the land should not be living in the land, because this is God's land. And this goes back to the plot of land that was divided. Deuteronomy 32 does talk about this. And this is God's portion. And he's giving his portion to his people, Israel. So whomever might be living on there is not technically allowed to, because it's not their land to live on. They are squatters. And so Israel is being given the okay, not even the okay, but the command to get rid of all of the people living on the land who should not be, and to take it for themselves, because it was promised to them by God to Abraham. Ye shall divide the land by lot for an inheritance among your families, and to the more ye shall give the more inheritance, and to the fewer ye shall give the less inheritance. And this is by lot. And remember in one of the other videos I did where they took the second, it was Numbers 26. We compared the first census in Numbers 1, to the second census taken in Numbers 26. And it was in that second census, or after that second census, where we were told that the lots would be distributed to the tribes in the promised land according to the number of men. It was men over the age of 20. So men eligible to be in the army. But according to the numbers of those tribes, would the land be parceled. So larger plots of land to more people, and smaller plots of land to fewer people. Kind of makes sense. Every man's inheritance shall be in the place where his lot falleth. According to the tribes of your fathers shall ye inherit. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land wherein ye dwell. Like Gaza today, because they didn't get rid of the Philistines, did they? I'm sure you guys have heard enough conversation about this, that Gaza is where the Philistines, like right here, it's Philistia. They didn't get rid of all of the people. And Gaza has been a perpetual thorn in their side ever since. I'm sure you guys have probably heard about that. Hopefully you've heard about that. This is the result of not doing what God said, is that the people who they did not get rid of out of the land would be forever thorns in their sides. Eventually, Gaza shall be forsaken. When Jesus comes back at the second coming, Gaza shall be forsaken. And then they will, the people who are supposed to live on that land will live on that land in the kingdom. And whose plot shall that be? I was going to show a map, but those are quite different as well. And naturally, the map on Wikipedia shows Gaza not belonging to Israel. But from what I could see, it should belong to the tribe Judah. Anyway, verse 56 of chapter 33. Moreover, it shall come to pass that I shall do unto you as I thought to do unto them, if they don't get rid of the people who live in the land. Chapter 34. The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, command the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye come into the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall unto you for an inheritance, even the land of Canaan with the coasts thereof. Your south quarter shall be from the wilderness of Zin, along by the coast of Edom, and your south border shall be the outmost coast of the Salt Sea eastward. So let's take a peek at this. This is... So Edom is down here. Actually, I'm going to try to grab a map. I just went to Google and typed in Numbers 34 borders of Israel. And as you can see, there are a variety of different maps here. So I am going to continue reading until such a time as I think I can locate one that might actually be somewhat right. So anyway, your south quarter shall be from the wilderness of Zin, which there's a big old issue with that part because all of the maps that I was trying to find before located the wilderness of Zin in different places. So that would not be particularly helpful. But along the coast of Edom, your south border shall be the utmost coast of the Salt Sea eastward. So that's the Dead Sea. I have seen maps like this, but I cannot validate them. And I don't know truly what I'm even looking at here because a lot of these places are so not identified well. So I was going to try to find a map, and maybe one of you guys can do that, but I cannot find one that actually matches with what the Bible says. And I am not familiar with these places enough to know where they would be. It is highly unfortunate that there is so much variation and that I am not able to locate a resource. But unfortunately, I am not able to locate a resource. And look at this. They actually absent Gaza from the biblical lands associated to the 12 tribes. That should go to Judah. Of course, it's like people have agendas and stuff and they can't list it because it's not politically correct to do that or whatever. So, I'm actually not going to read these verses, reason being there are so many things that I cannot pronounce. But in Numbers 34, from verse 3 through verse 11, those are the borders north, south, east, and west of the land that is supposed to be parceled to the tribes in the promised land after they go in and take possession of it, the conquest. The border shall go down to Jordan, and the goings out shall be the Salt Sea. This shall be the land with the coast thereof round about. So that rounds out north, south, east, west borders. Verse 13 of chapter 34. Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, This is the land which ye shall inherit by lot, which the Lord commanded to give unto the 9 tribes and to the half tribe. For the tribe of the children of Reuben according to the house of their fathers, and the tribe of the children of Gad according to the house of their fathers, have received their inheritance. And we already talked about that, which would be east of, it would be in the Moab region. It would be east of the Jordan Sea, or the Jordan River. So Reuben and Gad, they already got theirs, and half of Manasseh. So we already We already know that. And you can kind of look at this and see this is what he's talking about, is the 9.5 already got theirs. So that would be 10, 11, 12. The other half of Manasseh is, it's all east of what is Israel proper today. So that's what he's talking about. And half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance. So Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh. The 2 tribes and in half have received their inheritance on this side of the Jordan near Jericho, eastward toward the sun rising. The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, These are the names of the men which shall divide the land unto you, Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun. And ye shall take 1 prince of every tribe to divide the land by inheritance. And the names of the men are these: of the tribe of Judah, Caleb; of the tribe of the children of Simeon, Shemuel; of the tribe of Benjamin, Eladad; the prince of the tribe of the children of Dan, Buki; the prince of the children of Joseph; for the tribe of the children of Manasseh, Haniel; and the prince of the tribe of the children of Ephraim, Kemuel; from the tribe of Zebulun, Elizaphan; from Issachar, Peltiel; from Asher, Ahihud; from Naphtali, Pedahel. These are they whom the Lord commanded to divide the inheritance unto the children of Israel in the land of Canaan. I am not saying that this map shows anything accurately other than these 3 things over here. I have seen maps where Dan is up here by Mount Hermon, which I thought was accurate. I'm not entirely sure if all of this is or not, so don't take my word as gospel truth for that. I was literally just pointing out Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben. So again, we go back to the issue with the maps. It is what it is. If someone has one that's actually accurate that they can share, please do so. I know that I flag links in my comments, but I can approve the comment if someone can give me a valid map. And if you can't, I get it. I get it. Continuing along in chapter 35. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Command the children of Israel that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance in their possession cities to dwell in. And ye shall give also unto the Levite suburbs for the cities round about them. And we'll go back to this map because we are back to this area where they are, just across from Jericho. The cities shall they have to dwell in, talking about the Levites, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle and for their goods and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits round about. Ye shall measure from without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst, and this shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. And among the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which ye shall appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee thither. And to them ye shall add 42 cities. So all the cities which ye shall give to the Levites shall be 48 cities. Them shall ye give with their suburbs. And the cities which ye shall give shall be a possession of the children of Israel. From them that have many ye shall give many, but from them that have few ye shall give few. Every one shall give of his cities unto the Levites according to his inheritance which he inheriteth. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then shall ye appoint you then ye shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which killeth any person at unawares. I'm sorry, my ability to read has just gone downhill. I'm trying to get through this, but my mouth is so dry that everything is coming out mispronounced. And I just cannot read anymore. So I apologize. But yeah, I apologize. So he's talking about giving cities to the Levites and designating places where people can be safe. They shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger, that the manslayer die not until he standeth before the congregation in judgment. So due process to the bad people, right? And these cities which ye shall give, 6 cities shall ye have for refuge. Ye shall give 3 cities on this side Jordan, 3 cities ye shall give on land of Canaan, which shall be cities of refuge. These cities shall be a refuge. I was thinking, like, what do they call those? I was like, sanctuary cities, but they're not that. It was kind of a laugh. Anyway, due process. People will be safe from harm before they're able to, until such a time as they're able to stand and be lawfully judged. So you shall give 3 cities on this side of Jordan, 3 cities shall you give in the land of Canaan, which shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be a refuge both for the children of Israel and for the stranger and for the sojourner among them, that every one that killeth any person unawares may flee thither. And if he smite him with an instrument of iron, so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall be put to death. And if he smite him with throwing a stone wherewith he may die, and he die, he's a murderer, and the murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he smite him with an hand weapon of wood wherewith he may die, and he die, he's a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meeteth him, he shall slay him. But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him by laying of weight, that he die. So, so I guess if it's malicious. Or an enmity smite him with his hand that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death. For he is a murderer, the revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meeteth him. But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, so on accident, or have cast upon him anything without laying of weight, without malice, or with any stone wherewith a man dies, seeing him not, like if he does it on accident, and cast it upon him that he die, and was not sought his enemy, it was not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments. So it's talking about malice versus accident, and the judgments that are to be rendered in those different situations. The congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, whither he was fled, and he shall abide in it unto the death of the high priest, which was anointed with the holy oil. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whither he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of his refuge, so if he's outside his little sanctuary city, and the revenger of his blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood, because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest. And I'm totally joking about the sanctuary city thing. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession. So these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout all your generations and all your dwellings. Whoso killeth any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Right's not sufficient in the mouth of 2 or 3. Moreover, ye shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall surely be put to death. And ye shall take no satisfaction for him that is fled to the city of his refuge, that he should come again to dwell in the land until the death of the priest. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defiled the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Defile not therefore the land which ye shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I the Lord dwelleth among the children of Israel. And finally, we come to the end of the book, chapter 36. And the chief fathers of the families of the children of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of the sons of Joseph, came near and spake before Moses and before the princes, the chief fathers of the children of Israel. And they said, The Lord commanded my Lord to give the land for an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel. And my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the inheritance of Zelophehad, our brother, unto his daughters. And this is from a previous chapter where Zelophehad died and he had no sons, and it was determined how the land was to be parceled in the event that there was no sons or no daughters or no people to pass it to in the order where it was supposed to pass. That was in chapter 27. So he's referring to chapter 27. If they be married, talking about the daughters of Zelophehad, if they be married to any of the sons of the other tribes of the children of Israel, then shall their inheritance be taken from the inheritance of our fathers, and shall be put to the inheritance of the tribe whereunto they are received. so shall it be taken from the lot of our inheritance. So he's saying if the daughters of Zelophehad marry outside of their tribe, then their inheritance should go to the husband that belongs to whatever tribe they are marrying into. And when the Jubilee of the children of Israel shall be, then shall their inheritance be put unto the inheritance of the tribe whereunto they are received. So shall their inheritance be taken away from the inheritance of the tribe of our fathers. So take it away from Manasseh and give it to whomever they're marrying into. Moses commanded the children of Israel according to the word of the Lord, saying, the tribe of the sons of Joseph has said well. This is the thing which the Lord doth command concerning the children of Zelophehad, saying, let them marry to whom they think best, only to the family of the tribe of their father shall they marry. So shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe, for every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribes of his fathers. So he's like, sounds great, but no. And every daughter that possesseth an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be wife unto one of the families of the tribe of her father, that the children of Israel may enjoy every man the inheritance of his fathers. So, no, they need to marry within their tribe. Neither shall the inheritance remove from one tribe to another tribe, but every one of the tribes of the children of Israel shall keep himself to his own inheritance. Well, there you go. So the border shall not remove once they are set. Even as the Lord commanded Moses, so did the daughters of Zelophehad. For Mahlah, Tirzah, and Haglah, and Milcah, and Noah, the daughters of Zelophehad, were married unto their father's brothers' sons. And they were married into the families of the sons of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in their tribe of their family of their father. These are the commandments and the judgments, which the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses unto the children of Israel in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho. And then Psalm 90 is written. Psalm 90 is written between Numbers and Deuteronomy, which makes it very intriguing because right after they get done discussing the parceling of the lots to the tribes and how the land is to be divided once they go into Canaan, then Psalm 90 is written, which is, if you read it, let's actually read it. BibleGateway.com. We're going to log in so that I can remove the ads and Psalm 90. In my Bible, it says Psalm 90 is a psalm of Moses, and some people don't realize that, and they're like, Moses never wrote a psalm, except he wrote Psalm 90, which is documented in the Bibles, and you can just open Google and search it, and it'll tell you that. What it doesn't readily tell you, but the information is available, is that it was written between Numbers and Deuteronomy when they're getting ready to enter into the promised land, but that Moses knows he's not going to be the one to lead them. What is specifically important to note, though, when you understand its placement between Numbers and Deuteronomy, and you understand they're getting prepared to enter, but you don't have a date stamp yet, but then Deuteronomy gives you a date stamp. Deuteronomy 1:1, these be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban and Hazeroth and Dizahab. There are 11 days' journey from Horeb by way of Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea. And it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on that first day of the month, that Moses spake unto the children of Israel according to all that the Lord had given him in commandment unto them. They are 70 days prior to entering the promised land. The first day of the 11th month in the 40th year. They entered on the 10th day of the first month in year 41. So you have 30 days of month 11, 30 days of month 12, and 10 days of month 1. They are 70 days. Psalm 90 can be assumed to have been written 70 days before they entered the promised land. So does it give you a little bit more of a certain impression about the number 70 in the verse? Maybe so. Psalm 90. Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever thou hadst formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Thou turnest man to destruction, and sayest, return, ye children of men. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night. Yeah, a day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as a day. We've heard that from Peter. So he's not saying they are, he's saying they as are. It's a simile. It's a metaphor, but it's a simile because it uses like or as. So he's basically saying the same thing Peter does. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday. Yes. Thou carriest them away as with a flood. They are as asleep. In the morning they are like grass which groweth up. In the morning it flourisheth and groweth up, and in the evening it is cut down and withereth. For we are consumed by thine anger, and by thy wrath we are troubled. Right. You have a whole bunch of people who weren't allowed to enter the promised land for 40 years and were afflicted to die in the wilderness because of their lack of faith. Moses is not able to enter the promised land because he struck the rock instead of speaking to it. Aaron died, Miriam died. They all died except for Caleb and except for Joshua, who is going to be leading them into the promised land, and people who were not of an age to be accountable for the sins of their fathers. For we are consumed by thine anger, and by thy wrath are we troubled. Thou hast set our inquiries before thee, our secret sins in the light of thy countenance. For all our days are passed away in thy wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told. Correct. Literally, this is a reference to their wandering in the wilderness for 40 years and their disallowance from being able to enter the promised land on account of God's wrath toward them because of their faithlessness, their disobedience, their continued rejection of him, their complaining, all of the things that we read about in this book. The days of our years are 70, and if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. This has prophetic implications. But we need to understand specifically that this was placed where it was placed because you're talking about an initial entrance into the promised land and then a final entrance into the promised land. There are two things in view here. How do I know that? Because I've studied it. Who knoweth the power of thine anger? Even according to thy fear, so is thy wrath. He says, so teach us to number our days, that we may apply our heart unto wisdom. Yeah, so he's talking about two different things. You're talking about a number of days before they enter into the promised land, which begins a count. And that count is going to lead to an end point. And if Israel doesn't believe before that end point, there's going to be additional years tacked on, which are labor and sorrow. This is Matthew 24, 70th week specific. This is the opening of the seals. You have 70 days from the time that Psalm 90 was written to the entrance into the promised land, which begins a count of Sabbath cycles, weeks of years that lead to the declaration of a Jubilee year in the 50th year. The 70th Jubilee will begin the 70th week. I will stand by that until such a time as I can stand by it no longer. If Israel is still faithless by that point, the additional years that they will have to live beyond the 70th Jubilee, which is going to be tied to presumably the rapture of the church, yet is their strength, labor, and sorrow. Right. The opening of the seals in Matthew 24, Jesus describes as the beginning of sorrows. But it is soon cut off and we fly away, which is a reference to the midpoint of Daniel's 70th week, the wings of the great eagle that take Israel into her place, that fly Israel into her place, where she will be nourished for a time times half a time from the face of the serpent. The problem that we get into here is that people cannot seem to separate this from 1948. It is not tied to 1948. You're not talking about the beginning of a period of time related to Israel coming back into the land. You're talking about an end point at that. The beginning point is when they enter the promised land to begin with. In Leviticus 25, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when ye shall come into the land that I shall give you, then the land shall keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years sow thy field, prune thy vineyard, gather in the fruits thereof. The 7th year is a year of rest, number 7 sevens, and in the 50th year hallow it and proclaim Jubilee. And there's going to be 70 of those until the last one, plus an extra 7 years that Israel's going to endure if they do not come to faith in Christ before then. And at the midpoint, their time in Jerusalem will be cut off because they're going to be flown into the wilderness to be protected for the remainder of the 3.5 years. Time times it in half, 1,260 days. What does he say here? Teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. So there's obviously there was an initial period of wrath, which meant that they fell dead in the wilderness, and Moses was not going to be allowed to enter into the promised land. But there was going to be an entrance into the promised land approximately 70 days from here. And then there was going to be a parceling of the lots to the tribes. But they weren't going to conquest all of the land. They were going to leave some, and those people who they left would be a perpetual thorn in their side, as we can see today. There is not going to be a point before the kingdom where Israel inhabits all of their land. And in fact, they are going to be kicked out of their land again, as they have been in and out of their land in perpetuity since they entered it once upon a time. They've never possessed the whole of it, and they've never been there permanently. And they still will not be there permanently until Jesus comes back. And when the land gets parceled to the tribes in the kingdom, which is what Ezekiel 48 talks about, then it will be permanent, and it will have borders, and those borders are discussed in Ezekiel's end times vision. This has nothing specifically to do with 1948. So you have 70 days from Psalm 90 to the entrance into the promised land, which begins a count that leads to the establishment of what will be 70 jubilees. 70 jubilee years, rather. Not jubilees, but 70 jubilee years. The start of the 70th week is marked to a jubilee year. That's why it's important to know when they start. And if we cannot identify when they start, then we cannot be sure when the 70th will be. That's why it's if this year, then this year. But I lack certainty, and because I wasn't there when they entered the promised land, to say it specifically was in a certain year. That's kind of the whole point. But that 70th Jubilee will be linked to 70 Jubilee year, not a cycle, not a period of 50. It is a specific Jubilee year, which is the 50th year in a cycle. That 50th year in a cycle is the first year of the next 7 sevens. It's all about the sevens, not about the 50s. But in the 50th year, Halloween proclaimed Jubilee. There is a 50th year. Again, Jubilee cycle is not a thing. So if you guys are listening to people who talk about Jubilee cycles and periods of 50, that's not what the Bible says. It specifically documents a year, which is the 50th year of a period of 7 sevens. And that is also year 1 of a period of 7 sevens. It's all about the sevens, not about the 50s. However, the Jubilee year is a specific locatable year if you know when they enter the promised land. So 70 days to the declaration of 70 days to the start of a period of time that will lead to the declaration of the 50th year. There will be 70 of those 50th years. The start of the 70th week is linked to, by everything I can find, is linked to a Jubilee year. There will be 3.5 years that Israel will remain in her land until she is booted out of it, lest she die. Michael is going to stand up for Israel and fly her safely into the wilderness. That is in Matthew 24 and Revelation 12. So this is talking about a few different things. Presumably, the number of days they have left before they enter, the number of Jubilee years that will be in total up until the midpoint of the 70th week, if they do not change their ways and come to faith. Who knoweth the power of thine anger? Even according to thy fear, so is thy wrath. Well, the 70th week is a period of wrath. So if they haven't learned their lesson by all of the things that God took away from them in this period of wandering and not being able to go into the land, if they have not still learned their lesson to be faithful, there will come another point, an outstanding week of years in the future, where if they still haven't learned their lesson, that's what this is for. But he will preserve a remnant according to the election of grace. He says, Moses goes on to say, so teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. Return, O Lord, how long, and let it repent thee concerning thy servants. O satisfy us early with thy mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad concerning the days wherein thou hast afflicted us, and the years wherein we have seen evil. Let thy work appear unto thy servants, and thy glory unto their children. And let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish thou the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands, establish thou it. So ultimately, he's praying for God to stop afflicting them and allow them to go into their land, which Moses will not do at this time. Joshua will lead them in. So if you did not know that about Psalm 90, please read it from the understanding that Moses wrote it pre-entry into the promised land. David did not write it. So if you would like to study it with fresh understanding, I would encourage you to do that. When next we meet, I am going to make sure that I don't need to go through Deuteronomy first. I've never been through Deuteronomy. I'm not particularly being led to it, although I have second guesses. I shouldn't jump immediately into Joshua, but I really want to jump immediately into Joshua. So I will evaluate my position on Deuteronomy, but I am going to continue doing videos through this weekend at least until such a time as I have to resume classwork. And Romans will be on the list, as will either Deuteronomy or Joshua. I will get to Joshua eventually. I'm just not sure how quickly. That is yet to be determined. But I hope that you guys have enjoyed Numbers. Sorry that my ability to read started failing me, but my mouth is so dry and my attention is just reading all of these things that are unfamiliar and these words I can't pronounce. Very taxing, but we got through it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Happy New Year to you all. I'll see you later.